Ghostbuster fans sure have to wait a long time in between sequels. There was a 5 year gap between Ghostbusters 1 and 2. There was a 32-year gap between Ghostbusters 2 and Afterlife. Fans only had to wait 3 years before they got another sequel, Frozen Empire. This time, Gil Kinnan would direct. Jason Reitman would serve as producer and co-writer. Unfortunately, his father, Ivan Reitman, had passed away in 2022 at the age of 75. Although he is credited as a producer, I don't know how much involvement he actually had. The story involves the Spengler family moving to New York City with Gary Gruberson, who I assume is now their stepdad, though it doesn't establish that he and Callie had gotten married. They now live at the old firehouse as Ghostbusters. After a bust that caused some property damage, most of which is caused by Phoebe, they have to face the new mayor, Walter Peck. Peck doesn't think that Phoebe should be allowed to be a Ghostbuster because of her age. Her mom and stepdad agree and decide to bench her. Phoebe doesn't take this very well. She feels like she's more than earned the right to be a Ghostbuster. This leads her to become friends with a ghost named Melody. Frozen Empire does a great job at building upon Afterlife. It is about the Ghostbusters expanding their business, which is a nice change of pace. We get to see more of Ray and Winston. Winston is the new owner of the Ghostbusters. As we've seen in Afterlife, he revived the business and has made some improvements. He has a hidden lab where they can perform experiments. They even made a new containment unit based off Egon's design. This was a nice way to reference Egon without bringing back his ghost. That would have cheapened the ending to Afterlife. It was fun seeing Ray and Podcast run their own YouTube channel. The two of them really feel like father and son. I love how Ray still wants to be out in the field busting ghosts. There was a nice conversation between Ray and Winston about their age. Winston feels that Ray is too old to run around busting ghosts. On the other hand, Ray still wants to do what he loves most. I really love this conversation because it brings into question how old is too old to do certain things. I also love it because it reflects the friendship between the two. Winston cares about Ray and doesn't want to see him get hurt. Ray, on the other hand, just wants to do what he loves. Ghostbusters is a huge part of his life, and he wants to keep doing it. It was also nice to see Janine in a Ghostbuster uniform. This was a nice reference to the animated series where she busted ghosts from time to time. This movie took a lot of inspiration from that cartoon. I love how Walter Peck is the new mayor. This was a nice way to bring them back. One thing that was disappointed was how Peter seemed like he had roughly the same amount of screen time as he did in Afterlife. I get that Bill Murray doesn't want to do a lot of acting these days, but I felt like they could have used him better. One of the biggest complaints against this movie is Phoebe's attitude. Many have found her to be too whiny and disrespectful towards her mom and stepdad. Honestly, I think people are a little too hard on her. I don't condone her behavior, but I get where she's coming from. In the previous movie, Phoebe had fixed a proton pack with the help of her grandfather's ghost. She then caught Muncher and busted Gozer alongside the original team. She's more than earned the right to be a Ghostbuster. Yet Phoebe is told she can't be a Ghostbuster due to her age. That's not going to sit well with most people. Just ask Ray. I do give Phoebe credit for at least apologizing for her behavior in the end. That's more than Eleven did in seasons 3 and 4 of Stranger Things. Now for the complaint everyone has against this movie, including me. Too many characters. The cast feels so overcrowded. This leaves certain characters with little to nothing to do. Lucky felt even more pointless here than she did in the previous movie. The guy who can create fire felt like a pointless addition. I mean, did we really need someone with superpowers in this movie? Ghostbusters is about ordinary people going against the supernatural with science, not superpowers. I did like how they used Trevor in this movie. I know a lot of people find him pointless, but at least they gave him a storyline in this film. Hunting Slimer. They definitely took this storyline from deleted scenes from the second movie where Lewis is going after Slimer. I didn't mind Winston's engineers. They didn't take up too much screen time and they served their purpose well. Some of these characters like Lucky and the guy who can create fire could have been left out of this movie entirely and you wouldn't miss them. In fact, it would give the characters more to do and it would be a little stronger. Karaka is a cool villain, if you pardon the pun, though I wish we could have seen him more. That's the problem with a bloated cast. When Phoebe went out at night with a chess set, I thought Ray was going to join her in the game. I think it would have helped build a relationship between the two, since Ray is an old friend of her grandfather's, and the fact that the two of them are going through the same problem, the writers could have allowed them to bond more. Now to address the most controversial addition to this movie, Melody. There's a lot of fans that don't like her. Perhaps the most common complaint against her is that she came out of nowhere since she was never advertised. To this I say she was meant to be a surprise. Maybe not a welcome surprise for some people, but this is what the filmmakers intended. Others have complained about how she creates a moral dilemma when it comes to busting ghosts. They claim that Ghostbusters shouldn't be more complicated than people going around busting ghosts. To this, I have to ask, have you ever seen the real Ghostbusters, the cartoon which this movie takes inspiration from? Not all the ghosts they encountered were evil or needed to be trapped. The episode Xmas Marks the Spot has the Ghostbusters bust the free ghost of Christmas. This almost ruined Christmas for everyone. Egon needed to go inside the containment unit to get them back. Then there's Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Ghost, where Uncle Horace calls the Ghostbusters because he thought he saw a ghost when in fact it was his niece and her husband. He didn't even know he was a ghost himself. Because he was their client, the Ghostbusters decided that the best way to help Uncle Horace was to help him find what he's looking for so he can pass on to the other side. There are other episodes I can bring up, but you guys get the picture. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is not a perfect movie, and it was by no means a big hit at the box office. However, it does seem to be pretty popular on streaming, proving that there's still life in this old franchise. Happy 40th anniversaries to you, Ghostbusters. May you last another 40. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later.